Cheers and welcome to lesson 87 on using sketches to divide fractions. So today's your introduction to dividing fractions. We're going to draw pictures, we're going to use sketches, and eventually those sketches will go away. But doing the sketches right now is really important for understanding how this works, okay? So say I wanted to divide 3/4 by 1/8. How many 1/8 are in 3/4? That is a way that this question would be asked. How many 1/8 are in 3/4? Is the same thing as dividing 3/4 by 1/8. Let's look at a picture to help it make sense to us. So we got 3/4 right here. So I drew that right here. We have 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. And we want to split it into eighths. So the same amount of shaded in area I have over here. And this time I drew little lines to show that instead of doing fourths, we're going to do 8 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if I had also done that part. So of the parts that are shaded, how many eighths do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eighths. So how many 1/8 are in 3/4? 6. 6 1/8, or 6 times 1/8, are in 3/4. If I was using my fraction manipulatives and I had little 1/8 pieces, it would take 6 of them to fill the same shaded area that it took to fill 3 of the 1/4 pieces. So what you'll notice is your answer is 6. And that seems like a big number when you're talking about division. If I'm thinking 3/4, that's less than 1, and I'm dividing it by a fraction, how do I get a whole number? How do I get a big number answer? Well, this is why, because we're talking about splitting something into even smaller pieces and counting how many it takes to fill it. Okay, let's look at some examples. How many 1/8 are in 1/2? So that's the same thing as saying 1/2 divided by 1/8, okay? So what we want to do is we're going to first start by drawing half. There's our half, okay? And I'm going to continue my circle around just so we can really see kind of how this works. Or if you want to draw a full circle and then just shade it, that's okay too. So now I want to know how many 1/8 are in 1/2. So I need to split this half, or this whole circle, into eighths to figure out how many of those would fill that. So if I were to split this circle into eighths, I got 1, 2 lines, so now I have fourths. Now I have eighths. So how many of these eighths filled this half? 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is 4, or 4 1/8 are in 1/2. We're seeing how this is working? Again, this was the same question as asking 1/2 divided by 1/8. I'm splitting 1/2 into eighths and figuring out how many fill that half. Here's example B. How many 1/4 are in 2? So 2 is a whole number. How do I show wholes with pictures or with fractions? Remember we did that as, I'm going to draw this one a little bigger. Okay, so there's my 2 wholes. I'll shade them in. And the whole thing would be shaded because it's not a fraction, it's a whole number. I got my 2 wholes. How many 1/4 are in that? So I need to split these into fourths. So I'm going to go like this and like this. And so now each of these pieces would be 1/4, right? So how many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 1/4 in 2, which is the same thing as 2 divided by 1/4. I'm splitting 2 wholes into fourths. All right, C. How many 1/6 are in 2/3? Okay, I'm going to have you finish this one by yourself, but I'll get you started. I need to split this. I'm asking 2/3 divided by 1/6. So I need to split it into 3 pieces. You draw a straight line down and then you go out to either side. And how many of those are currently filled in? 2. And now I need to break this, instead of thirds, into sixths and figure out how many are in the shaded area. So go ahead and do that. Page 2. These are all examples of dividing fractions. When you divide by a fraction, your number gets bigger, as you've already seen. So here we just have it written out straight like that. 3/4 divided by 1/4. So I'm going to draw a picture. I'm going to divide it into fourths. I'm going to shade 3 of them in. So how many 1/4 could I break these into? Well, they're already divided by fourths, so I don't need to divide them anymore. So how many 1/4 is it? 1, 2, 3. Again, this is split into fourths, so each of these would be a 1/4. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 1/4 and 3/4. Okay? What about this one? We've got 1 divided by 1/3. So I start. I've got the whole thing shaded in. And then I want to split it into thirds. And they want to know how many 1/3 there would be. And we realize that all of them are shaded, and therefore there would be 3 1/3. Okay. So, and if you have to divide by 12ths or 6ths, you can use a clock to help you figure out where those would be. On a clock, up top would be 12, down bottom would be 6. Over here we got 3 o'clock and we got 9 o'clock. So to divide this by 12ths, all these lines would be connected to each other. Go ahead and do this on your own sheet. And there's your 12ths. And to do 6, first start by drawing, there's two little lines inside between 3 and 6 and 6 and 9. And now you're going to draw a line straight down from 12 to 6. And then you're only going to connect those ones. You're going to skip a line there, and you're going to skip a line there, skip a line there, and skip a line there. And now you've divided it into 6. So this is like counting the 12, the 2, the 4, the 6, all the even ones around. All right, so we're going to use that to help us here. So we've got 1/4 divided by 1/12. Okay, 1/4. Gotten really good at these fourths. I'm going to shade in 1/4. And we're going to split that, divide that into 12ths. So remember, if this was my 12 o'clock and this was my 3 o'clock, there's 2 little lines in between it. And for 12ths, we draw all of those into lines. So that means that there would be 1, 2, 3 of those 1/12ths. So go ahead and try that last one on your own, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Get to work.